Hello, everyone, and welcome to another science snapshot with the Robinson Observatory at the University of Central Florida. Today we are going to be celebrating the Chinese New Year, which is taking place this February 12th in 2021. Now, you might be wondering, didn't we just celebrate the New Year in January? And also, what does the calendar have to do with astronomy? Well, you're absolutely right. We did just celebrate the New Year in January. But that was for the Gregorian calendar, which is based on an old solar calendar created by Julius Caesar and later refined by Pope Gregory XIII to reduce a cumulative error in leap year calculations that shifted when Christians were supposed to celebrate Easter. And now, hold up. You saying there's more than one calendar? Yeah, in fact, there are so many calendars. Pretty much almost every civilization has come up with their own calendar at some point to keep track of events, whether it's harvests, holidays, religious celebrations, cultural events, you name it, there was a calendar created to celebrate it. And you thought scheduling calls between time zones was hard. But don't worry, because as Christianity spread around the world, most cultures have adopted the Gregorian calendar for general everyday use to minimize confusion. So you won't be having to keep track of every single different culture's calendar. And lunar calendars are still used, but primarily for cultural and religious purposes now. So, what are these solar and lunar calendars I keep mentioning? Well, the solar calendar is derived from the time that it takes the sun to go through all of the constellations in the zodiac and return to its original place in the sky. That is to say, it's determined by how long it takes the Earth to orbit once around the sun. And while the length of months can change from calendar to calendar, the Gregorian calendar and similar calendars based off of the Julian calendar created by Julius Caesar tend to have 12 months, similar to how the original zodiac had 12 constellations. And each month tends to last about 28 to 31 days, depending on how long the sun stayed in that constellation. Other solar calendars, though, such as the old Chinese calendar that predates the current Chinese calendar, which we'll get into later, focus more on seasonal effects, such as the equinoxes and solstices, as well as changes in weather patterns and harvest seasons. And so this calendar actually had 8 different seasons, where each of the 4 seasons that we know of between the solstices and equinoxes were then divided in 2, so as to have a harvest month and a rainy month, and so on. Now, the lunar calendar cares a little less about where the Earth is in relation to the sun, and more about observations of the moon. Months are defined by the phases of the moon, so that each month begins on the new moon, which is how that phrase originally got its name. A new moon basically means a new month. Since the phases of the moon are cyclical, lunar months tend to last 28 to 29 days, depending on how each group defines it. And this is typically the time between 2 consecutive new moons. The number of months per lunar year can vary depending on the calendar, since some calendars define a year based on the time it takes for the moon to return to its original point in the zodiac, while others combine the solar calendar with the lunar calendar to produce a lunisolar calendar that approximates a year to be about 12 lunar cycles. For example, the Islamic and Hebrew calendars are lunar calendars and are most commonly used for upholding religious ceremonies, holidays, and other events. The Islamic calendar is completely detached from the solar year and doesn't include any leap days or month to make up for discrepancies between the lunar and solar calendars. And this is how we tend to end up with seeing a shift in holidays throughout the year from year to year in the Islamic calendar. The modern Chinese calendar is based on the lunisolar model, where months are divided by the phases of the moon, but the calendar also keeps track of the length of the year by approximating the time for the Earth to orbit the Sun. A normal month in this calendar is considered to be 28 days long, and a year tends to last from 353 to 355 days, which is why the Chinese Lunar New Year seems to take place on a slightly different day each year. So, with that, all of us at the UCF Robinson Observatory would like to wish you all a very happy Chinese Lunar New Year. Thanks for watching, and as always, please remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more science snapshots in the future.